Blood fell upward. That was the first thing Daniel Reeves noticed when he opened his eyes. Then his brain caught up with reality. He was hanging upside down, strapped in his pilot's seat, and the blood was falling down from his forehead onto the cracked glass below him. The ship had stopped moving. That was either very good or very bad that he blinked through the red haze in his vision and looked outside. Sand. Orange sand stretching in every direction under a sky that held two suns. One yellow, one pale blue. Both of them burning hot enough that he could already feel the metal of his ship starting to cook. "Okay," he said to no one. "Okay, this is fine." It was not fine. Daniel reached up with shaking hands and found a release on his harness. He pressed it and immediately regretted the decision as he fell headfirst onto the ceiling of his cockpit. The ship had flipped completely during the crash. He lay there for a moment, breathing hard, taking inventory of his body. Arms worked, legs worked, head was bleeding, but he could think clearly. Nothing seemed broken. Small victories. He crawled toward the emergency supply locker and pulled it open. The water recycler inside was smashed into a dozen pieces. The food rations were scattered but intact. His medical kit had survived. But without water, none of it mattered. On a desert planet with two suns, he would be dead in 2 days. Maybe less. His emergency beacon sat in its housing, cracked but still blinking a weak red light. It was transmitting. Whether anyone would hear was another question entirely. Daniel pulled himself out through a hole in the ship's hull and stood on the hot sand. The heat hit him like a physical wall. He shielded his eyes and looked around at where fate had dropped him. The planet was called Harith 7 on the old charts. He remembered seeing it on his navigation display right before everything went wrong. He also remembered the warning that flashed next to its name. Forbidden, no landing, quarantine zone. The kind of warning that meant something very bad had happened here once, and the Galactic Concord had decided the best solution was to pretend the planet did not exist. Now, it was his tomb. Unless it was not. Daniel squinted at the horizon. The heat made everything shimmer and dance, but he could see something in the distance. Shapes that were too regular to be natural. Straight lines and angles rising from the sand. Buildings. Ruins. Something that intelligent beings had built a long time ago. Where there were buildings, there might be shelter. Where there was shelter, there might be water. That it was a thin hope. The kind of hope that got people killed. But staying here meant certain death, and Daniel had never been good at accepting the inevitable. He went back into his wrecked ship and gathered what he could carry. Food bars, medical kit, a thin emergency blanket that might keep the worst of the sun off his skin. He wrapped the blanket around his head and shoulders like a cloak and started walking. The sand was soft and deep. Every step took twice the effort it should have. The two suns climbed higher in the sky, and the temperature climbed with them. Within an hour, Daniel's mouth was dry. Within 2 hours, he had stopped sweating, which he knew was a very bad sign, but he talked to himself as he walked. It was an old habit from years of solo survey missions. One foot in front of the other. That is all you have to do. Just keep moving. The ruins are getting closer. You can see them now. Real walls. Real shadows. Just a little further. The ruins did not look like anything humans had built. The architecture was wrong in ways that made his eyes hurt. Doorways that were too tall and too narrow. Windows that spiraled instead of sitting square. Symbols carved into every surface, worn by centuries of wind but still visible. Still warning that he did not care about warnings. He cared about shade. Daniel stumbled through an opening in the outer wall and found himself in a courtyard of pale stone. The shadows here were cool. Not cold, but cool enough that his body nearly wept with relief. He sat down with his back against a wall and closed his eyes. Rest for a minute, he told himself. Just 1 minute. Then explore. Find water. Find a way to survive. But even as he said it, he knew the math did not work. Even in the shade, he was losing moisture with every breath. His body was shutting down. He could feel it in the way his thoughts were starting to blur at the edges. The way his heartbeat seemed too loud in his ears. He opened his eyes and looked deeper into the ruins. There were more chambers beyond this courtyard. Darker spaces where the suns never reached. If there was water anywhere on this dead world, it would be there. In the deep places, the hidden places, the forbidden places, Daniel pushed himself to his feet. His legs shook but held. He walked toward the darkness, one hand trailing along the wall for balance. Whatever had happened here, whatever had caused an entire planet to be locked away and forgotten, he was about to find out. He hoped it was worth dying for. The second sun had risen by the time Daniel reached the deepest chamber. He knew this not because he could see the sky, but because the walls had grown warm again, heat sinking through stone, time running out. His translator implant buzzed weakly against his skull as he walked. It was trying to read the symbols carved into every surface around him, but the language was old, dead. The implant could only catch fragments sealed, forbidden to do not consume. The warnings repeated over and over, scratched into walls and floors and ceilings. Whoever had built this place wanted to make absolutely certain that anyone who entered would understand. This place held something dangerous, something that should never be touched. Daniel laughed. It came out as a dry croak. "Good thing I'm already dead then," he said. His feet dragged across the stone floor. He could barely lift them anymore. His vision kept fading in and out, darkness creeping at the edges. He had maybe an hour left, maybe less. The chamber he finally entered was vast. The ceiling disappeared into shadows high above. The walls were covered in pictures as well as words. He could see figures drawn there, tall beings with long limbs and large eyes. They were gathered around something, reaching toward it. Their faces, if they could be called faces, showed fear. In the center of the chamber stood an altar, and on the altar sat a vessel made of crystal. Daniel moved toward it without thinking. His body knew what it needed. Water, liquid, something to drink. His brain had stopped making decisions. Survival instinct had taken over. The vessel was beautiful. It caught the faint light filtering through cracks in the ceiling and split it into colors that had no names. Inside, a liquid moved, blue-black and shimmering. It seemed to glow from within, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Daniel picked up the vessel. It was cool in his hands. The liquid inside shifted, almost like it was aware of him. His translator buzzed again. The symbols on the altar were clearer here, carved deep and filled with something that might have once been read. The Keeper waits. The Keeper consumes. The Keeper gives only death. Death, Daniel repeated. His voice was barely a whisper now. I've got plenty of that already. He raised the vessel to his lips. The liquid was cold, colder than anything should be on this burning world. It slid down his throat like ice water, like metal, like electricity. It tasted of copper and something else, something that reminded him of looking up at stars when he was a child. Something ancient and vast. He drank all of it. The vessel fell from his hands and shattered on the floor. Daniel looked down at the broken crystal, confused. His body felt strange, wrong. His skin was tingling. His heart was beating too fast. Then the pain HIT started in his stomach and spread outward like fire through his veins. He screamed, but no sound came out. His legs gave way, and he collapsed onto the altar, knocking it over as he fell. The stone floor was cold against his cheek, but he could not feel it for long. The pain swallowed everything. His back arched. His fingers clawed at the stone. Inside his body, something was moving. Something was changing. He could feel it rewriting him, cell by cell, thought by thought. His vision went white, then black, then colors the humans were not meant to see. And through it all, a voice that was not a sound. It was not words. It was something older than language, pressing against his mind like a hand pressing against a window. Curious, confused, afraid. "What are you?" the voice asked. Daniel could not answer. He was falling into darkness, deeper and deeper, and the voice was falling with him. "You should be dead," it said. "All the others died. Within moments, they died. Their bodies rejected me. Their minds shattered. But you are still here. You're still fighting." Daniel felt his heart stop, then start again. Stop. Start. His body was at war with itself. "Your biology," the voice said, and now there was wonder in it. "It is not rejecting me. It is negotiating, adapting. I have never seen this. In 12,000 years, I have never seen this. The darkness began to lift. Not disappear, but change. It became something else. Something he could exist within. What are you? The voice asked again. And this time, from somewhere deep in his fading consciousness, Daniel managed to answer. Human, he said. Or thought. Or dreamed. I am human. The voice was silent for a long moment. When spoke again, it was different. Softer. Almost gentle. Human, it repeated. Then perhaps there is hope after all. Daniel fell the rest of the way into darkness. But he was not alone anymore. Something fell with him. Something that had been waiting for 12,000 years. And for the first time in a very long time, neither of them was afraid. Daniel opened his eyes in complete darkness. And then he realized he could see everything. The chamber around him glowed with colors that had no names. He could see heat rising from the stones. He could see tiny insects moving through cracks in the walls, their bodies bright with life. He could see through the ceiling, through layers of rock and sand, all the way to the stars burning millions of miles away. That he sat up slowly. His body felt different, stronger, lighter. The thirst was gone. The hunger was gone. The pain was gone. He felt better than he had ever felt in his entire life. You are awake, the voice said. IT came from inside his head, but it was not his own thoughts. It was something else, something ancient. Who are you? Daniel asked out loud. I'm what your people might call a symbiote, a living memory, the last creation of those who built this temple. There was a pause. They called us keepers. We were meant to bond with hosts, to preserve knowledge, to survive when they could not. Daniel looked down at his hands. They looked the same, but when he focused, he could see deeper. Blood vessels, nerves, cells dividing and rebuilding. What did you do to me? I bonded with you, merged with your biology. Your cells carry me now. Your mind holds my memories. We are one creature, you and I. Daniel should have been terrified. He should have been screaming, clawing at his skin, trying to get the thing out of him. Instead, he felt calm, complete, like a puzzle piece that had finally found where it belonged. Why am I not afraid? He asked. Because I am not your enemy. And because your body understands this, even if your mind does not yet accept it. The keeper paused again. You are remarkable. Every species I've tried to bond with died within hours. Their immune systems attacked me. Their minds could not hold my memories. But your body did something I have never seen. It adapted. It accepted me. It made room. Daniel stood up. His legs were steady. His vision was clear. How was that possible? I did not fully understand. But I have studied your biology while you slept. Your species evolved on a harsh world. A world of predators and parasites and disease. Your bodies are designed to survive things that would kill any other creature. You fight infections that would destroy entire species. You heal from wounds that should be fatal. You live with bacteria and viruses inside you every day, and you do not die. You negotiate with invaders instead of simply dying from them. The keeper's voice carried something that sounded like wonder. I was created a bond, to share, but I have been poisoned to every host I ever touched. Until you. Daniel walked to the chamber entrance and looked up at the distant sky. The suns were setting. Night was coming. He could feel the temperature dropping, feel the planet rotating, feel the magnetic field wrapping around the world like an invisible blanket. Your creators, he said, the ones who built this place. What happened to them? Silence. Then grief, so deep and old that it made Daniel's chest ache. They died. All of them. Not because of me. I was supposed to save them. We all were. The keepers were their last hope against something that was coming. Something that moved between stars, consuming everything in its path. Daniel felt memories that were not his own pressing against his mind. Images of vast ships burning, planets cracking open, billions of lives ending in fire and silence. They created us to fight, to preserve their knowledge, to find hosts who could survive and carry on. But every bonding failed. Every host died. In their despair, they blamed us. They sealed us away in temples like this one, called us plagues and curses. And then the darkness came, and they had no defense. How long ago? Daniel asked. 12,000 years. I have been waiting in this chamber for 12,000 years. alone, hoping that someday someone would come, someone who could survive, someone who could carry the warning. Daniel turned and looked back at the altar where he had fallen. The broken crystal glittered on the floor. Warning about what? The thing that killed my creators. It is still out there, sleeping perhaps, or moving slowly through the void. But it will wake again. It will hunger again. And when it does, your people will face the same choice mine did. Fight or die. The weight of those words settled over Daniel like a cold blanket. He had come here looking for water. He had found something else entirely. Others will come, he said. Ships, rescue teams. When they find out what I am, they will be afraid, the keeper finished. My kind were sealed away for a reason. The species that quarantined this world did so because they knew what we were supposed to be. They will see you as a threat, a contamination, a broken quarantine. Daniel looked at his hands again. They still looked human, but he was not anymore. What do I do? He asked. Survive, the keeper said. That is what you do. That is what humans do. And when they come for you, show them what I have shown you. Help them understand. And if they do not want to understand, the keeper was quiet for a long moment. Then we will face that together. You and I, as one. Daniel nodded. Outside, the stars were coming out. Thousands of them. Million. Each one a sun. Each one perhaps orbited by worlds full of life. He was no longer just a surveyor. He was no longer just human. He was something new, and he had no idea what came next. 23 days after the crash, a ship finally came. Daniel watched it descend through the morning sky. He was sitting on a broken pillar outside the temple, waiting. He had known they were coming for 2 days now. He could feel their communications bouncing off satellites. He could sense the heat of their engines before they entered the atmosphere. The ship landed hard, kicking up clouds of orange sand. It was a military vessel. Concord markings on the hull. Armed and armored for containment operations. The ramp lowered and soldiers poured out. They moved in formation, weapons raised, scanning the ruins with fear in their eyes. Behind them came others. An insectoid figure wrapped in robes of office. A human woman in a medical coat. A large reptilian creature with commander insignia on its chest. Daniel did not move. He simply waited. The commander spotted him first. Contact, the reptilian growled. Single human. Alive. The soldiers surrounded Daniel in seconds. Their weapons hummed with charged energy. Daniel could see the fear in their movements. They had expected to find a corpse. Finding a healthy man sitting calmly in a quarantine zone was far worse. The insectoid stepped forward. She was Vellani, Daniel realized. One of the old species. The ones who had been among the first to join the Galactic Concord thousands of years ago. I am Counselor Iridis, she said. Her voice clicked and whistled through a translator. You are the pilot of the crashed survey vessel? Daniel Reeves, he said. Planetary Surveyor. Guild number 7742. You have been here for over 3 weeks. On a quarantine world. With no water. No supplies. Iridis moved closer, her compound eyes studying him. How are you alive? Daniel smiled. It was not a threatening smile, but the soldiers tensed anyway. I found water, he said. Iridis froze. Her antennae went rigid. For a long moment, she simply stared at him. Then she took a step backward. His eyes, she whispered. Look at his eyes. The human woman pushed forward. Her coat read Dr. Amara Osei, Xenobiology Division. She was shorter than Daniel, with dark skin and gray hair pulled back tight. She held up a scanner and ran it over him without asking permission. Elevated cellular activity, she muttered. Neural density increased by, that cannot be right. She looked at the readings again. There is something else in his bloodstream. Some kind of organism. It is integrated with his biology at the cellular level. A keeper, Iridis said. Her voice was hollow with dread. He drank from a keeper vessel. He is bonded. The commander raised his weapon. Then he is a contamination. Quarantine protocol demands immediate termination. Wait. Dr. Osei stepped between Daniel and the commander. If what you are saying is true, this should be impossible. The keepers killed every host species they ever touched. Every single one. No exceptions. Then he is already dead, the commander said. Or he is lying. I am neither, Daniel said calmly as he stood up slowly. The soldiers tracked him with their weapons, but did not fire. He walked toward Iridus, stopping just out of arm's reach. You know what the keepers were made for, he said. Not what they became in the stories. Not the plague that your ancestors feared. What they were actually designed to do. Iridus trembled. Weapons. They were weapons. Created by the architects to fight against, to preserve, Daniel interrupted. To bond with hosts and carry knowledge across generations. To enhance their hosts so they could survive what was coming. They were not weapons. They were lifeboats. He reached out his hand and touched the hull of the military ship. The metal hummed under his fingers. Systems came to life. Screens flickered. Data flowed. I can feel your ship, he said. Every system, every wire, every byte of information. He pulled his hand back. The keeper is part of me now, and I am still human, still alive, still thinking clearly. Dr. Osei was scanning him frantically. This is incredible. His biology did not reject the symbiote. It adapted. It found a way to coexist. Humans evolved on a death world, Daniel said. Our bodies are designed to survive things that kill other species. Parasites, diseases, invaders. We do not just fight them. We learn to live with them. We negotiate at the cellular level. The commander kept his weapon raised. Pretty words, but you're still a broken quarantine. A threat to every species in the Concord. I am a threat to nothing. Daniel looked past the commander, past the soldiers, toward the horizon where the suns were rising. But something else is. Something that killed the architects. Something that has been sleeping in the dark between stars for 12,000 years. He turned back to face them. His eyes, Iridus realized, were glowing faintly. A soft blue light that had not been there before. The keepers were not the enemy, Daniel said. They were the warning. And now, finally, someone has survived long enough to hear it. Silence fell over the group. Even the desert wind seemed to pause. Take me to your ship, Daniel said. Take me to your council. Let me tell them what I know, and then let them decide what to do with me. The commander looked at Iridus. The counselor looked at Dr. Osei. The doctor looked at her scanner, then at Daniel, then at the ancient temple behind him. Commander Sullen, Dr. Osei said quietly, I think we should listen to him. Sullen growled deep in his throat, but slowly, reluctantly, he lowered his weapon. If you try anything, he said, I will kill you myself. Daniel nodded. Fair enough. He walked toward the ship. The soldiers parted around him, keeping their distance like he was a bomb that might go off at any moment that in a way he supposed they were right. The medical bay was cold and white and filled with machines that beeped at Daniel constantly. He sat on an examination table while Dr. Osei took more blood samples. This was her 15th attempt. The results kept confusing her. Your cells are changing, she said, staring at a display. Not dying, not mutating into something else, just improving, becoming more efficient. It is like watching evolution happen in real time. The keeper optimizes, Daniel explained. It wants its host to survive. The stronger I am, the longer we both live. Counselor Iridus stood in the corner of the room, as far from Daniel as she could get while still being present. Commander Sullen had posted guards outside the door. Armed guards, as if that would matter. Tell me about the architects, Dr. Osei said. Tell me what really happened to them. Daniel closed his eyes. The keeper stirred inside him, and suddenly he was seeing memories that were not his own. A galaxy that had been alive with civilization. Hundreds of species working together, building wonders that span star systems, creating art and music and technology that modern species could barely imagine. They were old, Daniel said. The architects had been traveling between stars for millions of years before my species even existed. They thought they understood the universe. They thought they were safe. The images shifted. Darkness at the edge of known space. Stars going out one by one. Entire systems falling silent. Then something found them. Something from outside. It moved through the void like a shadow, and everything it touched died. Not conquered. Not enslaved. Just erased. Planets cracked open and drained. Suns dimmed and went cold. Billions of lives ended in moments. Iridus made a sound that might have been a prayer. The architects tried to fight. They had weapons that could crack moons and move stars. None of it worked. The darkness just absorbed everything they threw at it and kept coming. So they created the Keepers, Dr. Osei said. Daniel nodded. A desperate last effort. Living symbiotes that could bond with hosts, preserve knowledge, enhance their abilities. The idea was that if the architects could not survive, at least their wisdom could. At least some part of them would continue. But it failed, Iridis said. Her voice was bitter. The bonding process was lethal. Every host species they tried died within hours. The architects' own biology was incompatible with what they had created. They could build vessels that traveled faster than light, but they could not make their bodies accept a simple symbiote. Daniel opened his eyes. In their grief, they blamed the Keepers. They called them plagues and curses. They sealed them away in temples across 100 worlds, hoping that someday someone would find a compatible species. And then the darkness came. Dr. Osei finished. And then the darkness came. The architects were wiped out in a single generation. Their worlds were burnt. Their stations were destroyed. Their species ceased to exist. The only things that survived were the Keepers, locked away in their prisons, waiting for hosts that never came. The room was silent except for the steady beep of medical equipment. 12,000 years, Daniel said. The Keeper I bonded with has been alone for 12,000 years. Waiting, hoping, watching species after species discover the temples and die trying to drink from the vessels. Dr. Osei looked at her scanner again. And then a human came along. A species that evolved on a world so hostile that our immune systems learned to cooperate with invaders instead of just fighting them. Your bodies are remarkable, Daniel said. You have bacteria in your gut that help you digest food. You carry viruses that have become part of your genetic code. You survive parasites that would kill any other species in the galaxy. When a Keeper tried to bond with me, my body did not attack it. It made room for it. It negotiated. The deathworld advantage, Dr. Osei murmured. We have always known that humans were unusually resilient. But this is what the architects could never achieve, Daniel said. A successful bond, a complete merger. And now, for the first time in 12,000 years, someone knows the truth about what is out there. What is waiting? Iridis stepped forward, her compound eyes fixed on Daniel with an intensity that was almost painful. The threat that destroyed the architects. The darkness. Is it still out there? Daniel did not answer. He did not need to. His silence said everything. Where? Iridis demanded. How far? I do not know. The Keeper's memories end when its creators died. But it is not gone. Things like that do not simply disappear. They sleep. They drift. They wait. And when they wake up, Daniel looked at the counselor, at the doctor, at the guards visible through the window. Then the galaxy will face the same choice the architects did. We can fight together, or we could die alone. He slid off the examination table and walked to the window. Outside, the military ship drifted through space, heading toward the Concorde's central station, toward the council that would decide his fate. There are other temples, he said quietly. Other Keepers waiting. Other vessels that have not been touched in thousands of years. Dr. Osei understood immediately, and humans might be able to bond with them. More humans. Perhaps. Daniel turned back to face them. Or perhaps I am the only one. Perhaps something unique in my biology made this possible, and no one else will ever survive the bonding. There is only one way to find out, the doctor said. Yes. Daniel's eyes glowed softly in the dim light. There is only one way. Iridis shook her head. The council will never allow it. You are contamination, an abomination. They will want you destroyed. Maybe, Daniel said, but that is their choice to make. Not mine, and not yours. He sat back down on the examination table and held out his arm for another blood sample. For now, doctor, I believe you had more tests to run. The council chamber was vast enough to hold representatives from 40 species. They sat in tiered circles around a central platform where Daniel stood alone. Bathed in light from above, he had never felt so small, or so watched. The Torvaki faction wanted him executed. The Villani wanted him imprisoned forever. The younger species, the ones who had never heard of the Keepers or the Architects, simply stared with a mixture of fear and fascination. "You are a broken quarantine," the Torvaki High Speaker declared. His voice boomed through the chamber. "A biological contamination. The law is clear. You must be destroyed." "With respect," Daniel said, "I'm also the only living being in this galaxy who knows what killed the architects. Does that information die with me?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The High Speaker's scales shifted color with irritation. "We have survived for thousands of years without that knowledge," a Vellani counselor said. "Perhaps we do not need it." The architects said the same thing, right up until they stopped existing. Silence fell. Daniel could feel the keeper inside him, lending him strength, feeding him words that were not quite his own, but were not quite foreign either. "I am not asking for trust," he continued. "I know what I look like to you. A human who touched something forbidden and came back changed. A monster wearing a familiar face." He turned slowly, meeting as many eyes as he could. Compound eyes, slit pupils, optical sensors, every kind of seeing the galaxy had invented. "But I'm also proof that the keepers work, that the architect's final hope was not a failure. It just needed the right host." A tall figure rose from the human delegation. Ambassador Wei, Earth's senior representative. Her face was carefully neutral. "You're suggesting that other humans might be able to bond with these keepers," she said, "that we might be uniquely suited to serve as hosts." "I am suggesting that possibility exists." "Yes. And if it does, what then? An army of bonded humans? Weapons against a threat that may or may not still exist." Daniel shook his head. "Not weapons. Scouts. Preservers." The keepers were never meant to be weapons. They were meant to carry knowledge across the dark times, to remember what others had forgotten, to survive when survival seemed impossible. "That sounds like exactly what a weapon would say," the Torvaki High Speaker growled. Daniel almost smiled. "Perhaps, but I'm not offering myself as a soldier. I'm offering myself as a scout. Send me to the unknown regions. Send me to the places where the architect's shadow still falls. Let me find out if the darkness still sleeps or if it is already stirring. And if we refuse," Ambassador Wei asked, "then you refuse. I will accept whatever judgment this council passes. I will not fight. I will not flee." He spread his hands. "I drank from a relic to survive. I do not choose to become something new, but I am something new, and that cannot be undone. The only question now is whether you waste what I have become or use it." The chamber erupted into debate. Voices overlapped in a dozen languages. Translators buzzed and clicked as representatives argued with each other and with their own delegations. Through it all, Daniel stood quietly, waiting. The keeper spoke inside his mind. "They are afraid. I know. Fear makes species do terrible things. The architects sealed us away out of fear. They died because of fear. I know that too. What will you do if they choose execution?" Daniel considered the question. "Accept it, I suppose. I meant what I said. I will not fight them. That seems wasteful. Maybe. But if I fight, I prove them right. I become the monster they fear. And then everything we know dies with me anyway." The keeper was silent for a long moment. Then, softly, "You're a strange species. We get that a lot." The debate continued for hours. Representatives came and went. Proposals were made and rejected. Finally, as the artificial lights dimmed to simulate evening, Ambassador Wei raised her hand for silence. "The council cannot reach consensus," she announced, "but we have agreed on a compromise. The human will be released into the custody of the Earth delegation. He will be given a ship. He will travel to the unknown regions, as he proposed, and he will report what he finds." The Torvaki High Speaker rose in fury. "This is unacceptable. It is the best we can offer," Wei said calmly. "Unless you wish to vote for war with Earth over one man." The High Speaker sat down. His scales had gone a dangerous shade of red, but he said nothing more. Daniel bowed to the council. "Thank you." "Do not thank us yet," Wei said. "You are walking into darkness that swallowed civilizations. You may not come back." "I know." Daniel smiled. It was the first real smile he had worn since waking up in his crashed ship. "But at least I will not be alone." 3 days later, a small scout ship lifted off from the central station and turned toward the edge of known space. Inside, Daniel sat at the controls, plotting a course to worlds that had not been visited in 12,000 years. "Are you ready?" the keeper asked. "No," Daniel admitted, "but that has never stopped humans before." The ship jumped to faster than light. Stars stretched into lines. The darkness ahead waited, patient and vast. Behind him, the Galactic Council argued about what he might find. Ahead of him, ancient temples held keepers who had waited millennia for hosts who could survive them. And somewhere in the void between stars, something old and hungry stirred in its sleep. Daniel Reeves flew on, the first of what might become many. A human who had drunk from a relic to survive and paid a price that was only beginning to reveal itself. The galaxy would never be the same. Neither would he.